Welcome to the Theatre of Others podcast. My name is Adam Marple, and I'm the co-artistic director of the Theatre of Others. With the COVID-19 pandemic forcing a shutdown and reevaluation of space and gathering, we at the Theatre of Others are thinking about what stories we need and how best we can share them. We believe space is psychology, and it informs the way in which an audience interacts and reacts to what is presented to them. We create uniquely theatrical events in bespoke sensory performance spaces crafted to encourage curiosity and grant the audience permission to commune with the play. Now that space has moved online, how can we encourage interaction and action amongst an audience virtually? The Theatre of Others produces plays that both welcome and challenge the audience. We are committed to international collaboration and are a laboratory that helps artists grow through intensive study of their craft. The Theatre of Others creates a shared community of artists and audiences for the purpose of exploring the most profound issues of our lives and times. We believe the play watches the audience. The audience is necessary, and they are witness to what happens. And you get to be witness to us making that happen. The purpose of this podcast is to open up our process and let you in. We're peeling back the curtain, so to speak, and encouraging you to follow along, to ponder, prod, and question, to join us and criticize us if need be. Being a witness is no passive task, and it requires much from you. Are you up for the journey? On the podcast today from Melbourne, Australia, are co-artistic directors Budi Miller and myself in Cairo, Egypt. This podcast contains explicit language.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with a guest. Adam Marple can make the podcast today. Tonight is tonight for us, but it's probably morning for him. But we have an amazing guest tonight. We have an amazing guest tonight. We have future destined Fidel on the podcast. He is a I was gonna say Colombian. He's a Colombian. Colombian. He's a Colombian, Jamaican, Nigerian.
All of them combined.
He is a Congolese Australian playwright, one of our great contemporary playwrights in Australia, and we are working on a new work together. And this is our opportunity to talk about what we're doing, how we got to this project. We've been working on this since what?
2017 or
16. So, and I came in around 2018. So this project has been going on way longer before me. Yeah. But we are finally at the world premiere of our baby, our child.
Yeah. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I remember. So they play La Belle Époque.
But wait! Before we talk about the play, who is Future Destined? Tell Future. Let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. Have you always been a playwright?
No, actually. I started. I think in the arts industry, I started with music.
Okay.
I started with a dance, so I started Congolese dance. I formed a band called Fimbo Boys. And so this was like 2007 to 2018, 2008. I was in the band, and that was mainly boys, That's the name.
Fimbo he was in a boys band, y'all.
The boys band. So doing the boys, in the boys band, in 2009, I started my own. I started doing solo.
Okay.
So I started doing gospel music solo, and that went on up until I think.
Wow, gospel music.
Yeah, gospel. Yeah.
Wow.
I did gospel from 2009 to recently. I think maybe 2-3 years ago.
Okay, so wait. So what instrument do you play? Are you the front man?
Well, I write. So in a sense, I write poetry. And also I write rap, so that was the main focus, and doing into hip hop genre.
Okay.
So at the same time, I was studying engineering. So I'm doing engineering
because you were a good African boy.
Yeah, I'm a good African. I'm a good African boy. I'm a very good African boy. So I was, because as an African, you have to make sure that you finish your studies first before you go and do anything acting, because in African, especially the African Australian, acting isn't seen as a major thing that you can do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's sort of like I mean, now the world is changing and there's people who are trained and doing acting on a full-time basis. But when I came here, acting is like, you can't do that. You can rely on acting. You have to have a degree.
You have a real job.
Yeah, you have to have a real job. So I did engineering at university. I finished, and my passion has always been to become an actor, actually.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So I was doing music, and music led me into a project that I did, that was like a community project, which I was acting in that project. And then from that project, I started working on my very first play. I co-wrote that first project, and from that, I did my very first play, which is Prize Fighter.
Okay.
So Prize Fighter, I wrote it in 2013.
Okay.
So 2013, I wrote Prize Fighter with Laboite. I don't know if we're supposed to.
Laboite Theatre in Brisbane.
In Brisbane,
it's one of our professional theaters in Australia.
In Australia.
So let's So now let's talk about Laboite. So how did you get to be in the whole Laboite experience and with Prize Fighter? Because your Prize Fighter did very, very well.
Oh yeah, it did good. So how I got in there, it was sort of like a chance kind of thing, being at the right time, on the playing on chance, I would say. So when I was doing music, I also started a group to do films, like African films. So we'll tell story. I'll get the guys in the community. I'll actually be the one to write the story. And then direct and shoot and edit. So I was a one-man band in that sense. So there was a time when I thought, the government has some fundings that I can find to be able to fund this small project that I'm doing. So I went to this funding session where everybody comes in and everybody's hungry to get some money for their project. And so in that session, other artists we met there, we started talking about how we can come up and do one project, so we can all put one man together to do that one project. And that was the very first project that I got involved in. So it started as a community project. We did it at Brisbane PowerHouse, which is a very old.
I love that space.
Yeah,
I performed
very old. It looks very old, but it still has the culture of theater.
It's got the vibe, man. It's got the vibe.
It's got all full vibes. So we did that in one year. I think it was 2011 or something like that. We did at the Brisbane PowerHouse, and then because it was the moment that diversity was sort of like coming up. And so the year after that, we took the show at Queensland Theatre. And when we did the show at Queensland Theatre, that's where I met, I think, Todd McDonald was there as the associate producer, I think. Chris Corn was working as the associate diversity at BMAG. I think.
These are our two white boy allies, like Adam Marple. You gotta have your white boy allies. Yes.
Yeah.
Chris and Todd, those are our boys.
Todd, yeah. So we started having one-on-one conversations about the project and my aspirations and what I want to do. And we started going deeper with Chris, and he was inspired with the story that we told. And he's like, you can write one for yourself and see how we go. And so I think things fell where they're supposed to be. I started having a conversation with Chris about Prize Fighter. Now, by the moment we finished having the conversation, he became the artistic director at Laboite.
Right.
So then that was almost like a pathway for me to get into Laboite. They did this. He connected. He wasn't the artistic director. He connected me with the then artistic director, who was the name just flew out. That artistic director later on then became the artistic director of Brisbane Festival.
Okay.
So he was at Laboite Fest.
That's serendipitous.
Yeah. So when I went in to meet him and told him the story of Prize Fighter, he was excited. He was like, "Oh, we need to get you on our program," which was getting artists in residence, and we develop our skills there, tell our stories, and so that's where he got in. By the time I was an artist in residence at Laboite working on prize fighter. David Berthold, his name was David.
Okay.
David, his contract finished with Laboite, and so he went and became the artistic director of Brisbane Festival. Now, Chris, who that has initially started the conversation with, became the artistic director of Laboite. So now, and Chris was very passionate about the plays that I have to program the show. And since now David was now at Brisbane Festival, when Prize Fighter was programmed at Laboite, David was also like, I love this show. It has to be part of Brisbane Festival. So he programmed it as part of Brisbane Festival. And then he brought in a few other shows that touched on Congolese history and things like that. And that was my journey from there. And the moment the show went on, Chris had already left because he had relocated to Melbourne. And then Todd...
And that's where I met Chris.
Yeah, that's where you met Chris. And then Todd McDonald became the artistic director of Laboite.
Oh, my God. So, amazing.
Yeah, so too many names and too many things to keep up.
Yeah, but that's good. But that's good. But that's good for people to understand that, like, you know, you don't do it alone.
No. You don't. You need people, you know, who know people and who believe in the work and who believe in your work. I mean, I was writing prize fighter. I self-taught myself how to write a script.
Yeah.
It was like, I know how to tell a story, but how am I gonna? Because I was used to writing screenplays. I don't know. I've never seen a stage play. I'm thinking, how do I write this thing? So I was like, oh, how do I write? And then I started reading some plays. I'm thinking, oh, this is the format. I have to follow this. So I think, Brisbane Festival happened, and then I think that was in 2015. It did well in the festival. The following year, I went down to Belvoir Street Theatre. It sold out. And then the year after that, he went to Sydney Festival again, went to Melbourne Festival, Darwin Festival, went back to Brisbane. And so we had venues in Melbourne like the Banjo Place, Northcote Theatre. We did Geelong Arts Centre. We did a couple of places, even
just a couple places.
Did a couple places. And while we were doing that, then I think that sort of like kicked off where that was the birth of La Belle Époque
and the Future Fever, and everybody wanted a future.
Everybody wants a
future play,
more,
right?
Bit more. What else do you have? You've seen how great this story is. What else do you have? And so because it felt like in Prize Fighter there was a few things that we didn't touch. So like, okay, how can we continue this story, or how can we tell it in another way? But La Belle Époque is not Prize Fighter Part 2.
No, it's not,
totally
because so Prize Fighter got all of the accolades and was really, really popular and successful, box office success. It was your first play, got lots of acclaim, and so everyone was really excited about, your next project. And we had a lot of support behind it. So my question before we even talk about the support, like, how did you find this story in your imagination? Because it's the way you're able to talk about current affairs from the way you tell story and almost an unassumingly I feel like it's a stealth bomber. Right? You don't see you don't realize that you've been shot on until you're dead, right? Because the stealth bomber is already gone. Right? So what was the inspiration for La Belle Époque?
I think the biggest inspiration has always been my personal journey, and also the experience that I see personally, people that I've known, and also trying to bring something that is different. Like, how can I tell a story that isn't your average story that everybody will go to the theater and expect to see? I mean, there's ways in Africa how our ancestors used to tell stories is, you'll be kids around the campfire, and they're telling you all these fables and stories that resonates with you. And they have that way of telling a story, which is a bit different. Even here in theater, there's more. It's done in a professional way. You have lighting, you have sound design, you have set design. I think the African storytelling inspires me to be able to bring a story that is a bit, of course, it's told in sort of like in a sad way, whereby the Western have the tradition of telling the stories. It has to be like this, it has to be like this, it has to be like this. But for me, I'm like, no.
Deprived, decrepit.
Yeah. So I will tell you the way I want it to be told. And I think at some points people might get confused because, Prasfara and La Belle Époque, they're stories that jump. And you, unless you pay attention, you won't be able to tell, okay, which era are we in now? Okay, where are we now? But the moment things click, you'll be like, oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. That's now the story starts making sense. And that's why I don't like to tell a story that is a straight line, beginning, middle, end. Sometimes it's just here at the end, give you a little bit of stuff at the beginning, give you the stuff in the middle, give you the stuff in the just after the beginning, so that you can piece things together for the audience to also have an experience the journey of the main character and be able to follow and understand and see the trauma as the story progresses. I think it's important.
Well, I think that's what's so beautiful about your dramaturgical choices of almost a mosaic spiral design. When I see the architecture and the architect in play, when you come to your way of telling story and how it all comes together, almost as if you take a step back and you see that the mosaic you're looking at is actually a portrait of someone, but you get really close to it, you only see the different bits and pieces of what it is.
Yeah.
And I think what's so fantastic about that is the Black experience is so fragmented for all of us.
Yeah.
And the African experience and the African American experience and the African diasporic experience is so fragmented. And I think that you do it so you let us feel the poetry of what it is to be a Black person and all these different versions of interacting with the world and ourselves.
Yeah. I think the poetry, which is the biggest element of my writing, because sometimes you want to express yourself, but you can't say things in just black and white. You have to put in artistic signatures in there for the people to be like, okay, what are they trying to say? So one line can have 3, 4, 5 different meanings, but it depends on the reader on how they want to take it and which meaning they want to use, which will also still have the valuable effects of the actual sentence or the actual words. So I think that is what is beautiful about poetry and my work is I incorporate that as an artistic choice, but also as a way to express certain things that you can embed messages within itself, within the poetry itself, that might mean this or this or this, and then the choice is up to the audience to be able to say, okay, I think this one works for me, this one works for me, this one works for me, and they take it however they want to take it. Yeah.
So all right, so what does La Belle Époque mean? Let's go there. What does La Belle Époque mean?
Well, La Belle Époque is French for the good old days. La Belle Époque. And so I think everybody has that moment where they say, when was the good old days? When was my good old days?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Everybody has that moment where they feel like, yeah, those were the days. When you think of generation now, some people say, oh, the 80s, yeah, those were the good old days, whenever the music comes on, everybody, gets hyped up to that music, and they feel like, now the music is trash, nobody's doing anything anymore, there's no many OG singers now, so they appreciate a certain era.
Yeah.
And I think for us as Africans, who our ancestors experienced colonial powers, they also have their own good old days where they feel like before this happened, before colonization happened, these were the times where the Africans were free. This is the time where we were able to express our own terms and our own ways of things.
Yeah,
would that be
long before colonial intervention?
Yeah, because you find a lot of West who think that Africa began after colonization or when colonization happened. No, Africa was striving before colonization. It was way up there. We had kingdoms that were well successful, well built, well advanced. That colonization sometimes came and shut all that down because there was a system they wanted to implement, and I think that is what La Belle Époque is. It's just uncovering a few things. Not to go deeply into the details of or the story of the play, because obviously
you gotta come see it.
You're gonna come to see it to understand. But it dives deep into why there's issues, consistent issues. For example, in the DRC, what has been happening and nobody's talking about it, and what the West are doing. How can we do? What can we do? How can we care? Because
and what does for those lay people out there, what does DRC mean?
The DRC stands for the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's the French English version.
Okay.
In French, they say RDC, which is République Démocratique du Congo.
And has it always been the Democratic Republic of Congo or République Démocratique Congo?
Congo. Oh no, it was called Zaire before. Zaire. So during the reign of Mobutu Sese Seko Kukungwendu Wazabanga.
Come on, say it again. Come on, say it again. I need to hear that again.
Mobutu Sese Seko Kukungwendu Wazabanga.
Yes.
Actually, it means something about the ruler and reign of all the rivers and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a name.
During his rule, so after the Belgium left, after we got independence in 1960, there was President Chombe who was the president, who was elected for a couple of years, but the first Prime Minister Lumumba, who sought the independence, was supposed to be in power, but the CIA and all this, they killed him because they saw the potential he had to be able to transform the Congo, to be able to transform Africa itself. He had the mindset of someone who's dedicated to make sure that changes comes. Because we can run our own countries without the Western's influence. That was his vision. And he wanted to change the Congo, make it great, let's say, in that sense. That was a no-go zone for Western, influence. They thought, no, this person, we're not going to have any interest in this country. So they killed him and installed Mobutu. And so Mobutu ruled the Congo from that time up until 1996. 1997, he died. And so he changed the country to Zaire. And then after he died, there was President Laurent Desire Kabila who came on, changed the Congo, the country back to Congo, the DRC. He didn't stay for too long because of civil wars and other politics. So his son took over from 2001 till recently. I think 5 years ago. So it still was Congo, even with the reign of Joseph Kabila. Yeah.
So there's been many black hands to hold power in the Congo and have it removed. Like sand moving through your fingers.
Yeah. They've been a lot. Well, compared to other countries, not many, because you think about Chombe, Mobutu. You have Kabila father, Kabila son, and now Felix Tshisekedi. 5 since say 1960, and that's like a long time compared to other countries,
every 4 years.
Every 4 years, get out,
yeah.
another person comes. And so there was that idea of dictatorship. Whoever goes in power, they stay on. they bring excuse after excuse so that elections don't go on, but corruption is still happening. So they don't want fresh minds to be able to develop the country, and that's why you find Congo is considered still one of the poorest countries in the world, even
with
though
with the most valuable resources,
the wealthiest country in the world in terms of natural resources, but the people are a lot of huge population is poor.
So that is a very heavy topic for a play.
Yeah, very heavy. And that's,
so how do you even begin, Future?
Well, I think a story has to start from somewhere. We already have the foundation. We know what the problem is, and it's up to us, our generation, to be able to start highlighting this, because now we're privileged because we have people here who can follow us live that we can say, hey, XYZ are happening in Congo. Go, you don't have to do it. You just go up. You can now go on your phones and search it up and
put
see
it up.
and put it up and understand. Oh, this is actually happening, because now Palestine is going through a lot of tough times now.
Yeah,
but it's compared to the Congo. There's no difference. I mean,
we don't compare.
You don't compare.
Yeah, you cannot compare.
Then the question would be, how come the world is paying too much attention on Palestine, even though we don't? It's not good to kill people.
Yeah.
But they haven't paid a lot of attention to the Congo, to the deaths that have been happening in the Congo for many, many years. And it's sort of like silent.
Yeah.
It's silence because of the interest of the West.
The
resources that the Congo has. And so it's hard to get even a leader who's going to stand against the West to say, okay, now I want my country to develop.
Yeah.
Because any leader who comes with that ideology, it's like, oh, you want to develop your country? Okay, cool, let's see. You'll get killed within a couple of years because it's not what they want. They want to be able to take all the natural resources.
So that's huge. So how okay, for someone who has gone through so much in your life, how do you take care of yourself and be able to write such really important archival and next generation and contemporary work? Yeah. How do you maintain your sanity and while still maintaining your integrity as an artist?
I think I believe everybody was put here for a reason. We all have a purpose and we all have a task to complete. Whether it's mine is to tell stories, then it will be to tell stories and making sure that the generation, because I'm an Australian now and it's hard for my kids to be able to know more about the Congo. But if they can know, okay, my dad likes to tell stories, let me pick up a book and see what my dad has written, they will take some interest and some interest about learning what I've done and learning about the Congo. And so I think it is a good starting point. And for me, how I take care of myself is to make sure that I do my part, and whichever story I can tell to highlight on the injustice that the Congolese have been going through is enough, because another person will pick it up from there and be able to say, okay, how can we bring change? How can we do this? And that's why we do videos, put it out so that people are aware that these things are happening. And also, personally, I think it gives me a state of mind, because I came to Australia. I didn't come as a privileged person or privileged because my family was rich. I came here on scholarship. No, I came as a refugee, which means I'm a result of the war in Congo. But now that I know, actually, there's a lot more people who are still suffering, that if I can say these things about it in the West, someone might see, someone might take action, and someone might put a stop on this injustice that these people have been going through. So I think it's important for me to take that step and not be ignorant and just keep quiet. I think it's a mistake if you know that something is happening and you're not saying anything about it. And I think this play is a starting point for me to say, okay, if the Australian media doesn't want to show what's happening in Congo, me as a Congolese, I'm going to try my best to bring them to the theater and show them what's happening in Congo. So then they will go and tell their friends, and their friends will tell their friends, and then that's how a movement starts, and
what's so fantastic is that you bring it into, it's not just a Congolese story, it's an Australian story.
Yeah, it's 100% an Australian story. So anybody or any audience who comes, they're thinking that, I'm just going to see
a Congolese play.
No,
right?
It's not. It's an Australian story. It's set in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So everything else, all the actors, it's pretty much set in Melbourne. But then we jump back and forth from Melbourne to the Congo, Melbourne to wherever we need to go. So I think it's still an Australian play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a I'm kind of baiting you with this question, but like what would you consider to be political theater, and is your theater political?
I think the difference might probably be, and I might be wrong. I think in my own point of view is being able to hold something with tight hands, like, okay, this is what I need, this is what it is. Or for example, you trust in a particular fact too much that you're not open to look at other people's opinions. So being able to be open and say, okay, this is what I think, but also what else is there? Because what you might think is right might not actually be right. So it is good to look into the two aspects. This is what I know. What else is there that can help me understand better? Because once we get caught up into a small bubble, feel like, okay, this is it. This is what I understand, and there's nothing else outside of this. And so you find a lot of something that are more political is like, I choose this side. And the other side is just trash. Whatever they're doing, they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand, and this is how it should be. But there's always good ways to go around things. So say facts, but also be open to look at what other things are there.
So is that political or is that politics?
Maybe these guys here will tell us what it is.
Yeah. Because I feel like just the fact that we have so many Black bodies on stage and there are many different unique intersections of the world is innately political.
Yeah, I think that is someone's point of view. For example, one person might say, all the cast members are Black. Okay. The director, Black. Okay, all right.
The playwright,
Black. Okay, cool. So, do you have anybody else who's not Black in this
stage manager?
The stage manager. So,
but the stage manager is African.
Yeah, well, he's African, but not Black, but African, but still African. So then, the moment you start judging something based on a particular group, then it becomes limiting because you haven't heard the story, you haven't seen the extent, you haven't seen the expertise of these people, and for you to look at it, it is a lot of it's an issue because artistry comes in many forms, and regardless of the skin color, how you go, I think art can be inspiring anyway. Like the story of La Belle Époque, even though it's an Australian Congolese story, you can find an Afghani who has the similar story.
Yeah.
You can find an Iraqi who has a similar story. So I think it is a universal story, only told in the lens of a Congolese man, because this is his journey. There's another person from Sudan who's gone through this journey. So you can just judge it because of what you see, the Black bodies on stage and say,
it's a Black play, everyone. Black play. You're gonna go see a Black play, everyone.
Have you seen that Black play that's happening there? I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. It's very Black.
Well, this is a great segue into the conversation we were having today around Nigeria and different types of people of Nigeria, and then expanding into different types of people of Africa.
And
what we're trying to say and what you're trying to say. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think you say when we talk about colonization came to Africa and really divided Africa, really, we say massively, because you find, for example, when you talk about the Yoruba of Nigeria, the Yoruba might feel like, oh, I'm Yoruba, I don't want to talk to the Igbo, you know, and this is because of the mentality of, oh, maybe we are better than them, but it's not that. We're all of the same, you know, common ancestor. We should all be proud of who we are, regardless of the tribe we've come from. And so the Yoruba looking at the Igbo as, oh, we're superior, or these people are superior, it's only a way that is colonial power came to impose on us so that we don't work and collaborate. You know, because if I was to look at I'm this, only want to do with Yoruba, I want to only deal with the Yoruba people, then there's a lot of other opportunities that are missing that can come from the other side. And so I think I'm trying to avoid that and making sure that we're making a piece that includes everyone. You know, not just a particular tribe, or not just a particular corner, or not just this, but everyone can look at it and relate. You know, I'm a Congolese. I want a Nigerian who comes in to be able to relate to something that's happening. Be like, oh wow, I can relate to this. Or if a Somali comes in, or if an Afghani comes in, they can relate to some stories, even though we might have different cultures, but some stories are relatable. You can look at it and say, oh yeah, that clicks. I get this. I get this. Yeah, that's why as an African, I want to make sure that every African who watches it can relate to the story, regardless of whether it's from Guinea, Ivory Coast, Congo, South Africa, Tanzania, Zimbabwe. Everybody who looks at it can be like, oh, yeah, I understand this, understand this. Yeah.
Okay, so far up until now, what is your favorite part of the process?
Well, I think
as a playwright,
I think I like to explore things. I mean, when it comes into development, and everybody's at some point, everybody looks at me like.
I know we go. Future. What word are we gonna say? Are we gonna say this word? Are we gonna say that word? I mean, the debates in the room, y'all. Y'all see a new work. This is what I love about a new work. It's like having the playwright in the room. It's like, what are you trying to say, Future?
What's this? So I think sometimes everybody expect that I have all the answers. But I don't. Sometimes I don't have all the answers. Sometimes I let everybody else talk. Then I can hear, be like, oh, okay, I can steal the answer from somebody else. But I think the best process of this is bringing things together. The moment the story starts making sense for the actors, and being able to be like, okay, I understand this, that is a relief for me as a playwright, because now I know, okay, they understand the job, they understand the journey, they understand the characters, they understand the jokes, they understand the hardship of the characters. I think that is fulfilling, because now you don't want to be able, you don't want the moments the actors or anybody who reads the play starts having too many questions, something is wrong. And so you need to look at it, whether it's drama, story wise, or whether it's something that needs to be fixed. You say dramaturgically. So you have to make sure that everybody gets the story, everybody gets the joke, everybody gets the punchline, everybody gets, oh, this is a sad moment. Everybody gets those. It's important.
Yeah, and it's I love the people you write, Future. Yeah. I just love the people you write. They're real people.
Yeah. You have to always have a balance, and always refer to, but have some people as a reference. For me, there's some characters where I can reference on someone, but others I'm like, how can I make this character? How can I make them likable, or how can I make them like villains in this story, and how can I neutralize them? And I think being able to understand the character and then just follow a thread of that character through the play is important, because then if that character starts behaving abnormally, you're like, no, this either something has changed, or this character is now blending into another character which I didn't create. So then you can start having those conversations. But yeah, I think most of the characters I write are based on people that I see and the behavior that they have. And then I'm like, oh, how can I write a character who's has the same attributes, but has the voice of future destiny? Then I can base on that aspect with my own words and my own flavors, mix it up a little bit to make sure that they come out in a good light.
So and in that same vein, how do you feel, and this is for you actors out there, and I've got a playwright in the room, how do you feel about ad-libbing your lines?
Well, I'm not always strict. I would love for the actors to be able to they might, because English is not my first language. Before English, I'll learn French, even though it's not long in my head. I'll know Kibembe, my mother tongue, Swahili, and so all this plus then English. So there's words that are even I hear, I'm like, oh, that's a new word. Let me Google it. But then the moment I put words on the script, I'll expect for the actors at least to take the respect to be able to read as it says. And if there's a word they feel like, oh no, these words, what do you think of this? I don't mind changing words, but just passing by me and be like, hey, what if I say this word this? I might let you change it just because I feel like I need to make sure that the actors are confident in the thing they're saying, because some words sometimes I say words the way I feel like they should be said this, but maybe it's not the correct words, or the structure of the sentence might not be correct, and then another actor might have it in the correct way. The moment I hear that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna change that because I like it.
Yeah.
I like it that way.
Yeah, that's
I
much
like
better.
This one. Yeah, much better.
Yeah,
because you also have the privilege to have that as a person whose English is like the fourth language.
English is your fourth language.
Yeah. So I'm always like, okay, listening to this. Okay,
you speak pretty good English, brother. You wear it well. You got. I'm ready for Swahili though. You have to teach me some Swahili. I'm ready. Okay, I'm gonna start working on my Duolingo with Swahili.
Yeah.
And then I'm coming to you because I really want to learn Swahili. I do.
It's actually
such a beautiful language. You have to, but you have to teach me because Duolingo did this throw words at you, and my brain goes. I need to know some structure stuff. So we'll talk then.
Yeah, no. We'll talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to Swahili, y'all. Look out, Africa. Budi's coming. Okay, so all right. So talk about, because I think this is the other thing that I think the world needs to understand, why it doesn't happen that art doesn't happen in a vacuum. We don't do it alone. We work together, and it's a community team effort.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how supported this project was, and then what happened.
Yeah. So La Belle Époque initially, it came in as there was an initiative at Malthouse in Melbourne that was to bring in a pair of writer and playwright to bounce ideas and chat and see what comes out of that.
A playwright and a director.
Yeah, playwright and director.
Yeah.
And so from my initial partnership that I had met Chris, we came in at him as a
Chris Cohn,
him as a director, me as a playwright, and we had other 6 pairs in the room. We did 1 week at Malthouse, exploring and discussing about ideas, and after that, they said, "Okay, go away, give us a pitch of something that came within that process." And so Chris and I sat down and I told him the story of La Belle Époque, which we pitched to Malthouse, and they loved the story. They're like, "Okay, cool. We wanna work with you to develop this play." So that was the initial support that we got from Malthouse. They fully commissioned the work, and I started writing the work. We started getting into development. We did, this. I think this was 2016. While Pricefighter was touring, I was also already working on this, and so by the time Chris came to VCA, we had already
as the head of the Masters of Directing program.
Yeah, as the head of Masters. Yeah, so we had already done some development, and so the moment he was there, it was more now trying to find other avenues and other partners that might be involved to make sure that this work has a world premiere, because at that moment there was momentum of Prize Fighter doing the tour, and then Chris Gon came in, and
I came in as well. That was when Chris brought me in. Yeah. So I entered this project as an actor.
As an actor, yes. So we're doing the development at VCA. We had big support at VCA, big support at Malthouse, and in 2018 we put in a funding application for a premiere at the Art Center. Yeah, this was before COVID. And so
we got it.
We got it. We got the fundings, from all the big funding bodies to be able to put it at Malthouse, at the Art Center. And I think that was after Malthouse didn't commit to put it on at Malthouse.
Exactly.
So we branched out and did it independently. We got the fundings from VCA, Creative Victoria, Creative Australia, City of Melbourne.
Yes.
To put it at the Art Center. Unfortunately, COVID hit.
And then COVID hit. COVID hit. And swiped away all of our dreams.
Everything. All the dreams of my second play. It was just close.
Obliterated everything. But we tried to keep it alive.
Yeah.
And when we came back, but Chris had left the VCA.
Yeah, Chris had left the VCA. You were now the head of.
I was still the head of acting.
Acting at
and
VCA.
And I was still at the VCA, but because the project had changed hands, and I took over as director, and then all of the different venues weren't taking on any projects.
They were shut.
They were just shut.
Nothing at Malthouse, nothing at MTC, nothing at Art Center.
Nothing.
No shows. And because that time Melbourne was on lockdown for how many?
18 months.
18 months.
18 months.
You can put on a live
the
show.
Longest lockdown city on the planet. Literally, that's our world record.
Yeah, that 18 months in lockdown. I don't know how people survived it.
Yeah,
but I think COVID swapped everything, and we're not able to put a show. And it was supposed to be put on in Melbourne only. Yeah. We couldn't take it anywhere else.
Yeah,
and so
that's where our funding was from.
Yeah, the funding was for us to put it in Melbourne, so we couldn't take it to Brisbane. We couldn't take it anywhere else. So we were stuck that we had to do it in Melbourne.
Yeah,
and the moment venues started operating, I think it was too late. We tried VCA, Art Center again, and they had
different program, different everything. Everyone was moving in different directions. Yeah. So it's like it's so interesting because it's what happened to us in New York during 9/11. It's like everybody everyone was like wheeling and dealing and moving and shaking, and then 9/11 happened and everything just turned upside down. And everything just disappeared. Like all the dreams and hopes of like what people wanted to do just disappeared. So the Victorian government took their funding away because all the different locations that we had went into different directions.
We're no longer available. So I think that's where we had to then. We looked at him like, okay, what can we do? Actually, we had some small funding to do an online reading.
Oh,
it was
an
online development.
That's right.
That we were like, we have to, because it was around COVID.
It was during COVID.
Yeah, during COVID, we got the online because you are able to do it online because everybody can be in their own rooms.
Yeah, I remember that.
We're about to lose that too. We're about to lose that as well. But I was like, no, we ain't losing any more.
Yeah.
Give it. And we did a development. We did a script read in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. But then after that was more of like, okay, how do we then bring these projects back to life? Because if we don't do it, it's not gonna get done.
Yeah.
So we took sources back again. Well, with our own energy. We thought, let's reignite the passion. Because I think all the producers who were attached to the project just gave up. They all
everyone's exhausted. Everyone was burnt out.
Because,
burnt out. Yeah.
You can try so many times, but if you don't have the passion and there's no thing coming through, it's a bit hard to keep the consistency.
Yeah. And then we got a $10,000 grant.
Yeah, we got a $10,000 grant from the Scotland Foundation. Thanks to the Scotland Foundation.
Thanks, Scotland.
Yeah. They supported the project.
But this is going to go into history books because that donation sparked an ability for us to build.
Yeah, to build the show. Imagine going from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we had in funding.
Yeah, don't take me back. Don't take me back to the Belle Époque, the good old days.
Those are the good old days.
Those are the good old days when we had money. Good old days.
Good old days when we had money. Yeah, those were the good old days when we had money. When money was available.
Yeah.
But COVID was in the way, so we couldn't do anything.
Yeah. So we got $10,000
to do the play.
Yeah.
To which we have to look at paying everybody in the room, and we have how many staff? We have 11 staff, rehearsal space, travel, food. That's not attainable.
And so we are getting support. We've been asking for some support. What is it's Australian
Culture Fund?
Yes, Australian Culture Fund.
We have our
it'll be on the podcast show notes. The Australian Culture Fund. $25, $50, every little bit counts. It all adds up. Send some, if you can't, even if you can't see the show, send some money to support the show because this is an original world premiere of an African playwright, a Congolese Australian playwright, an all African cast. A Black company. It's what this country has been
years trying
craving, and we had support, but now we're going grassroots now. It's happening. Thank you Theater Works for believing in us. We applied, and thank you Kristen Smith for pushing us to apply, and it's those kinds of friends and support. It's like now it's open, and we've got it. The team is all
the team is ready.
The heart is there.
Yeah, the heart is there. The passion is there. I think everybody's doing for the passion at the moment. It's no longer about the money, and give up to everybody who's involved. I mean, the team. Todd McDonald's been with us.
Yeah.
From
thank you, Todd. Todd's like in the shadows.
He's in the shadow there somewhere.
Where was like, Todd, what do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, do this.
Yeah. I know. Todd is like. Every time we're talking, and he comes with facts.
Yeah.
I was looking at me, I'm like, come on, Todd, turn it down a little bit.
Yeah. Really.
And he's like, you got this much money, we have to like do this.
Yeah.
And
you can't do that,
you
but you got to do this.
He knows.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's fantastic.
Now, in rehearsal, I'm like, what did Todd say last time?
Yeah.
You gotta do that. So Todd is our dramaturg. He's on also volunteering his time.
Yeah.
And just the same as every other creative on the team, from the lighting designer, set designer, the director is a volunteer on the show. I'm volunteering on the show. The actors are
getting paid peanuts.
Getting like peanuts.
Yeah.
So any support that you can give us will go miles.
Yeah. Every little bit counts. Every little bit counts.
Thanks to the Scotland Foundation who gave us the grant through the Ubuntu project, which has helped us massively.
Yeah.
Thanks to Theatre Works who have given us the space to be able to put on the show.
Yeah.
But I think every little support, the people who are listening into the podcast, anything that you put up, it's on the Australian Culture Fund's website. So
and thank you, Melbourne Acting Gear.
Yeah, Melbourne Acting, where we're doing the podcast and we've been doing all of the rehearsals.
The Melbourne Actors Guild.
They've been very, very fantastic.
Thank you, Mama Emma. Emma Goff, we love you.
Very supportive of the show.
Yeah, so it takes a village, y'all. It takes a village.
Oh yeah, it does. It's a show. It's definitely a story that will go in the books. Like
I can't. It really is. It's one of the. It's because this, like your name, the future is destined for success. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And I have been so moved by every bit of what we've been doing with this project. So I'm just really excited to get an opportunity to share it with an audience, which is so cool. So let's take a break and come back and do some provocations. How's that sound?
Yeah, sure. Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the stereo sounds of JDB, Jack David Burmester. And we're back. We're back. Okay. All right, future. So this is the time in the podcast when we have provocations. So a provocation is it's like a call to action for our listeners. So like I told you before, we have listeners from 75 different countries around the world. So and a lot of them don't have access to theater training or anything theater, but they want to do theater. So think about those kids in those areas that can get a podcast, but they don't have any teachers. They don't have any way of doing theater. And what happens is when we give them the provocations, they actually send us like how it went. So like give us and then we get feedback, and we'll bring you back on and talk about it if they have questions for you. So what provocation do you want to give to our listeners?
I think I will say it is important. You always be writing. As a playwright, there's times when I get a story, or I get an idea, or it might just be a line. My phone, now that we have the time of notepads is gone. Anytime I get anything, I write it down. So it's always important to write that, because anything you put down, it might not be a part of a particular story that you're writing, but it could make it into another story that might come later on in the future. So I think anything you think of, write it down, and start thinking about developing that story. And the way develop is more of like, who the 5 W's they say: who, what, why, when. Who, what, why, when, and where. Yes. So the moment you have those things, then the dialogue and everything else comes naturally. Once you know who's saying it, then identify that person. Are they mute? Are they talkative? Are they quiet? Then you start building from that. So I think what I can tell the listeners of this podcast is, any story you have, write it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just write how you think it, the beginning is, the middle is, and the end is. And the moment that sinks in, then you start looking back at it again and start rewriting and purifying and making it nice. And now you can start adding texture to it, because you already know what it is, and you already know where it's going. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Don't stop. Don't quit writing. Just keep writing.
Yeah, just keep writing. There's never a bad story. You just need to write it down, have it somewhere. You never know. Tomorrow you might come and build from that idea. Or that might be it might not be good there and now, but later on in 5 years, it might be the story you want to write. It might be a story that you draw more inspiration from. So it is important to always write anything that you think that sparkles your interest, something that you feel like, oh, actually this is interesting. Write it down, put it somewhere. You don't have to follow it then. Just put it somewhere. You get another idea, write it down, put it there somewhere, And then at some point, when you start writing, or when somebody comes and tells you, "Hey, can you write this for us?" You start going through those notes and like, "Oh, actually, this one can make into this genre that I'm trying to write, and this one can make into this." So it's always good to write everything.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to add a provocation with that. And it's also good to read. If you want to be a writer, you need to read.
Yes, which I don't do.
Boy, you need to read. Or do you listen to audiobooks?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
That's good. That's reading. That's reading. Yeah, because as a dyslexic, my brain gets so tired having to like decipher words with my eyes.
Yeah.
But I can actually process and remember like 90% of what I'm being read.
Yeah.
So that's still reading.
Yeah. Like for me, when it comes to listening, like I can stay the whole day just going book after book.
Same.
The whole day.
And you get the whole cadence of writing right there. That's that's the same, y'all.
Yeah.
That's the same. Adam Marple, the other co-host of this podcast, is listening right now going, "It's not the same. It's listening. It's being read to. It's not reading." He's a readist, and I think that he needs to stop it.
I think what happens, what helps you with reading, especially for somebody like me who speaks multiple languages, it helps you with your spelling and the correct words. So you read it, you know, okay, this is how you spell this word.
Yeah.
So it's easy. Otherwise, because a lot of English words sound the same,
Yeah. And French.
And French, because most of them come from French and Italian. So you find that it's better. Reading gives you another upper step.
Yeah.
Where okay, this is how you write this. And good words, sometimes you hear a word that you don't know, but visually looking at it, you are able to pause and, so go somewhere, check, because you can see the spelling, you can Google it and find what it is.
Yeah.
And understand. But if it's hearing, how are you gonna know how it's spelled if you don't know how
exactly.
you don't see it?
So do your reading, do your listening. So if you want to let us know how it went by taking Future Destin's provocation, you just go to speakpipe.com/theaterofothers, and you can leave a 90-second recording of how it went. That's speakpipe.com/theaterofothers. That's theater with a TRE. And then if you don't want to leave a 90-second message because you don't want everyone to hear your voice, you can send us an email at podcast@theaterofothers. That's podcast@theaterofothers. And we also are on all the socials. You can find us on Instagram, Theater of Others on Instagram, Theater of Others on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn.
Are you on TikTok?
We're not on TikTok, not yet.
All right, Facebook, Instagram.
TikTok. What? But is this TikTok?
This is TikTok.
Oh, we're on TikTok Live. We need actually a TikTok. You can find me at Budi Miller on TikTok. You can find me on TikTok. If you want to talk to me, follow me on TikTok.
Yeah.
But you could also leave us a comment. If you go on to the podcast, when you listen to us, you need to subscribe, and then leave us a comment. And if you leave us a comment, then we fall into the algorithm, and then we become right now we're the top 5% podcasts in the world. Future.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. But you can go to top 1% podcasts in the world, right?
Yeah,
and then the algorithm is like, and then all things change. And then if you leave us 5 stars, because my Uber driver, he's like, you give me 5 star, I give 5 star. We're like 5 star, 5 star. It's a win-win game.
Win-win change. Yeah,
so kind of situation. Zero-sum win games. man, Future.
Yeah.
Brother, man.
Yes.
It's so good to have you in my life.
It's a pleasure. It's a big pleasure.
It's a huge pleasure.
It's a big pleasure.
It's brothers.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. In Jesus, we'll see you. Don't come late.
Oh yeah. I live an hour and a half away. I have to wake up at the crack of dawn to get here.
At least you drove a Tesla. These are the people who are taking our minerals in Congo.
Yeah,
we forgive you because you are also part of this.
You forgive me. Yeah, because look. Okay, all right. So here's the tea.
Yeah.
This is the tea.
make sure there's enough honey in that tea.
You can't. Look.
Yeah.
We got a Tesla because
don't worry. You don't have to explain yourself. It's all good. We already forgive you. Because you are telling the story of the Congo.
Yes.
And directing the story of the Congo.
Yes.
Power to the people.
Wait. Other arm. And for all you listeners, will be in your inbox next week, because we are always coming to your inbox every week. You get a podcast every week. Sign up. Theater of Others with a TRE podcast, everyone. Bye! Yeah!
Thanks for joining us this week on the Theater of Others podcast. Make sure to visit our website, theaterofothers.org, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. A special thank you to Purple Planet for the music you've heard. The Theater of Others creates a shared community of artists and audiences for the purposes of exploring the most profound issues of our lives and times. We believe the play watches the audience. The audience is necessary, and they are witness to what happens. And you get to be witness to us making that happen. The purpose of this podcast is to open up our process and let you in. We're peeling back the curtain, so to speak, and encouraging you to follow along, to ponder, prod, and question, to join us and criticize us if need be. Being a witness is no passive task and requires much from you. Are you up for the journey? Be sure to tune in next week for our next journey.